1887. Wyoming. A cowboy loses everything in a river crossing. Not his horse, his saddle, worth more than the animal under it. The word buck never meant dollar. It meant deerskin. A master riatero could feel a rawhide and predict its future before cutting a single strand. 10 forgotten cowboy leather skills once kept men alive, and they vanished because the hands that carried them were never replaced. Number 10. Buckskin currency. Long before paper dollars crossed the Mississippi, a trader's wealth sat stacked in the back of a trading post. Soft, brain-tanned deerskin functioned as a physical unit of trade across the early American frontier. In 1748, translator Conrad Weiser recorded a barrel of whiskey priced at exactly $5. That meant 5 literal male deer hides, hand-scraped and smoked. During this era, these pelts made up nearly half of South Carolina's entire export economy, valued at 6 shillings per pound. To an anonymous frontier trader, a couple of bucks was not an abstract concept, but a heavy, aromatic bundle of leather traded for gunpowder or salt. When industrial tanneries replaced brain tanning with chemical drums, we kept the slang, but forgot the sensory reality of the wealth that built the West. Number 9. The saddle was the career. For a 19th century cowboy, this heavy leather seat represented his entire professional survival and daily bread. Cattle outfits provided the horses, rotating riders through different mounts daily, but a cowpuncher always rode his own tack. Colorado ledger books from the 1880s lay out the raw math. A typical working ranch horse appraised at $20, while a well-made leather stock saddle routinely cost $40 or more, exceeding his monthly wage. This made the saddle his most valuable personal asset. To sell your saddle was to announce you were permanently quitting the range. Carrying 40 pounds of molded oak, rawhide, and oiled steer hide from ranch to ranch, the wage earner moved his office on his own shoulders, keeping his trade alive so long as he kept his seat. Number 8. Real holsters rode for retention. To a working cowboy, a holster was a security deposit, not a stage prop. 19th century riders carried their revolvers in Mexican loop holsters. Cut from a single heavy piece of steer hide, these rigs slid tightly onto a wide 3-inch cartridge belt positioned high at the natural waist, right at the hip joint. This high placement kept the heavy frame of a colt secure and dry, far above the horse's flanks and out of the churning trail dust. The low-slung, thigh-tied quick-draw rig is a myth born of the 1950s cinematic boom, engineered for Hollywood stuntmen. On the actual range, a low-hanging gun would slam against a cowboy's leg with every stride of a trotting horse. As industrialization took hold, specialization became harder to sustain, and the training chains thinned out. This knowledge disappeared because it had to be built, not simply bought. This is built knowledge. Number 7. Lemon and suet conditioning. For the early vaquero, treating a rawhide riata was not folklore, but precision chemical control to keep a rope from snapping or going limp. To achieve this, a riatero stretched the braided green hide taut between 2 oaks, then split a fresh lemon and rubbed the acidic juice directly into the fibers to tighten the collagen. Once dry, they worked hot beef suet or melted tallow into the braid, sealing out moisture. Modern oils over-soften rawhide, turning a 60-foot lasso into mush. But this traditional recipe preserved a specific, springy stiffness. As one old California riatero noted, a rope with the wrong temper is just a string, but the right mix gave it a life of its own in your hand. When we lost the recipe, we lost the chemistry of the throw. Number 6. Reading a hide by hand. Before a single strand was braided, a master riatero's touch decided the entire fate of a rope. Running a thumb along a wet green hide, an expert could feel the density and predict whether the leather would yield a balanced 4-strand 6-strand, or 8-strand riata. The eyes looked for brands, but fingers found the invisible flaws: grub wormholes, fence scars, and calloused damage that had to be cut away. Thin flank, belly, and shoulder zones were discarded outright. Some exceptional ropes required selecting only the prime material from multiple animals. This extreme selectivity was not a pursuit of artistic vanity, but a matter of basic survival under brutal range labor. A snapped rope meant a ruined livelihood, or worse. This is built knowledge. Number 5. Bull hide and heifer hide. This was the art of matching animal biology to the exact physics of a catch. To a veteran riatero, hides were functional profiles shaped by the animal's sex and age. Thicker, denser bull hide produced a stiff lay, creating heavy, rigid ropes that held their loop in the wind, perfect for the brutal impact of heel roping. Conversely, the skin of a young heifer was thin and tight, yielding the fine, responsive strands required for light, long-distance head catches. In the 1880s, choosing the wrong hide meant a rope that either collapsed midair or snapped under a steer's weight. They read the herd as a catalog of specific tools, preserving a practical taxonomy of the living beast that industrial standardization completely erased. Number 4. The rawhide saddle tree. This was the hidden skeleton that kept a horse and rider safe under pressure. Bare wood alone lacked the strength to survive the violent jerk of a roped steer. To solve this, makers wrapped the wet wooden frame in untanned rawhide, using thick bull hide to reinforce the horn where the stress was greatest. As the wet hide dried, it shrank with immense force, pressure clamping the joints into a single, shock-absorbing structure. Factory-made trees tried to replicate this with glue and canvas, but missed the physical behavior of the natural material. Modern replacements copy the outward shape, but strip away that strength. What looks right can work wrong. This is built knowledge. Number 3. The guarded trade division. A master saddler rarely carved his own wooden frame. Instead, they relied on specialized tree makers, keeping their secret shop patterns, cut from wood, leather, or expensive paper, under lock and key. To a shop owner, losing these templates meant losing his competitive edge. Number 2. Structural tooling. The ornate floral carving on a vintage saddle was actually a durability upgrade. Tooling with a steel stamp compressed the damp leather fibers along the carved edges. This heavy compression increased material density and stiffness exactly where stirrup leathers rubbed and stress gathered. What looked like pure ornament was a technician's structural engineering. It was armor disguised as art. Number 1. A good hand. This was the ultimate measure of a Western craftsman, an unspoken, sensory partnership with the material itself. It was an intuitive vocabulary, written in the fingertips, built only after working with thousands of hides over decades of labor. A maker with a good hand could stroke a piece of leather and instantly read how the animal lived, feeling dry summers in the stiff grain and heavy winters in the dense fiber. Because no two steers ate the same grass, no two hides ever behaved exactly alike under a knife. This judgment could never be programmed into a machine, and it lived solely in the apprenticeship chain, passed from master to novice through years of quiet observation. When that living chain broke, we lost more than a trade. We lost our tactile connection to the physical world. What hand-built heirloom do you own that has outlasted its modern replacements? And what forgotten trade do you wish we could bring back? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe to support Western heritage. As we trade physical mastery for digital convenience, we lose the quiet wisdom of the hand. What forgotten skill did your ancestors carry, and which heirloom connects you to that past? Tell us in the comments. Subscribe for more lost history.